Welcome back to the workshop.
Welcome back. In this week's episode, we're going to be making the box for the pedal box.
And our accelerator pedal. And we've got something very cool for that.
Let's get on it.
My name is Oliver, and this is my dad, Andrew. He's a wicked engineer and my next door neighbour. We've always wanted to build a car together and make your own gear knob kit. There you go.
This might take a while.
Building a car and making memories with my dad. One of one. This is Project Mosquito. Now, if you've been watching this pedal box build since the beginning, we started off with one big piece of billet aluminium that we cut in half, and we made a brake pedal and a clutch pedal. And we said, this is all the billet aluminium that we've got. This big chunk's our only big chunk, right? So what we're going to make our accelerator pedal out of? A bicycle crank arm, specifically a Japanese-made Shimano Dura-Ace crank arm. This is a Dura-Ace crank arm from the early 90s. Don't worry, I'm not sacrificing perfectly good bicycle parts in order to make car parts. This used to be my crank arm off my road bike, and I was doing some fast off-road gravel riding, and I may have cracked it. And so it's fine to use because it can't be used on a bicycle. But Dura-Ace, if you didn't know, is basically the top end of Japanese bicycle components. Like this crank, this model of crank raced in the Tour de France in the early 90s, and may have actually won the Tour de France in the early 90s. It's not quite as good as Italian-made Campagnolo, but it's still like the best in the world for its era. And unlike modern aluminium road bike cranks, it's not hollow, so we can use it for our throttle pedal. And let's be honest, it's designed to be pushed on by a foot, so it should do a pretty good job as an accelerator. So our first job is to chop off the cracked bit. I cracked this crank arm years ago, and I kept it in my box of stuff because I knew that one day it would come in, because I really loved this crank, and I'm really happy that it's going to live again and have another life, because it was a superb crank, and I rode hundreds and hundreds of miles on it, and when I cracked it I was very sad. So it just goes to show, keep everything, because one day it will come in. It's not hoarding if it comes in handy one day. There we go, finest quality Japanese aluminium.
Okay, so we've got our aluminium now. To form our pedal box, we're going to make 4 dividers. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to use this aluminium angle. We're going to cut it to length, and then I'm going to cut it down the 90-degree bend to give us the 2 pieces, to give us 2 pieces. And then I'll do the same again, so we end up with 4. We've got our side pieces now. I've put them in a vise. I've squared the bottom edge up and the front edge, because when we come to drill the hole for the spindle for the pedals, we need the front edge, the bottom edge, and the hole to be all in relation to each other, all square, so that when we bolt the front on and bolt the base plate on, the spindle hole all lines up. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to drill 2 8mm holes. I'm going to bolt these together to make them one piece, and then I'm going to file the front edge square and file the bottom edge square to each other. Then it always sits perfectly fine, and the holes always line up perfectly. That's the front part that we haven't, that's the front bit that we haven't filed. That's the base. and that's our datum face.
So all measurements are taken from that face, if you don't know what a datum is.
We found a use for our Hasport engine mount. We're using it as a, because I know it's all machined up and it's all nice and square, I can use it as a base for drilling my
Pedal box
sides. Before we cut this off, I'll just square this back up as well.
Yeah.
Because we can.
Some things are muck. Because that is like, oh, there you go.
Our next job is we need to put some circlips in our bias mounting point pedal holder, bearing holder.
Or brake bias adjuster.
Brake bias adjuster, that's the one. So we need to put 2 circuit grooves either side to hold this so it stays central, so it can't slide in and out of the pedal. There we go. So that's our brake bias outer casing. Locked in place so it can't slide either way.
With our balance bar, obviously, this bit screws in and out. And so, your axle's there, which is this hole. So if it's there and it screws in and out, it's going to hit this side here. So we need to drill a hole in the side piece, and then we need to figure out the minimum amount of material we can remove, because we need this thing to be as strong as physically possible. That'll do. So we've got a conundrum, because our holes in our master cylinders, right, intersect with the sides of our pedal box. I don't know why they're called gates in my head, so I'm going to call them gates, right? And there's no room for a nut, but you can't just bolt straight into the aluminium, because it's brakes and you need to be super secure. So we could, if we were lazy, just Dremel it out and put a nut in and tighten the nut up and call it a day and have little nuts just in here. But
we're not going to do that.
No.
So what we're going to do, we're going to drill and tap this 8mm. The two 8mm. We're going to countersink the back, and then we're going to countersink the screws from the back forward, so the threads stick out this side, so we can just put nuts on. And then to fasten this to these, we can then drill and tap these here, there, and there, and there, and put countersunk screws in from the outside, from here, from this side. So
basically, it'll have little studs on that you then put these onto rather than screwing a screw that way, which is actually a nicer way of doing it, because getting a bolt on with that in the way would be a right pain. So instead, it's just going to have some little studs, and you're just going to be able to put a little lock nut on there. And we are going to be bolting this thing together, because welding it together would be a nightmare.
Yep. If you welded it, you'd have to weld it all first and then machine all this secondly, because as soon as you started welding it, it'd twist like crazy, and then nothing would line up.
Yeah, it'd be massively distorted. Yep. And that's why, if you look at like an AP racing pedal box or a Tilton pedal box, that's a cast unit that they get cast, and then they bring it in and then they machine it afterwards.
So we're going to do each individual master cylinder, the machining of each individual one at a time, rather than just put all 3 holes in one go.
Because that's a bit too brave.
Because that's a bit too brave, yeah.
So we've reached a bit of an impasse. We need a proper countersinker tool. We're not happy with...
Yeah, because the finish on the back of the things, right, nobody's ever going to see it, but I know it's there. And I really don't like it. Like
anything else, there's a few different ways of doing these studs. We could have made studs.
We could have made an insert that went in from the back.
Yeah, like a little top hat insert.
Like a top hat,
a bit like what we did on what you made on the rear suspension.
Yeah, that we could have then threaded a bolt into, but that limits the length of the bolt then, because obviously it's going to go into this. So what the best?
And you'd have spent all day on the lathe as well.
So what we decided to do is use countersunk screws from the back coming forward, threaded in so they can't turn. When we actually build the thing properly, we'll Loctite those in as well.
Yeah, but really simple, real elegant solution. Yeah. And it's the old adage, it's really hard to think of a simple solution to something.
Yep.
It's really easy to think of a complicated one, but it took us till we were sat here this morning for you to realise that
we could do it that way.
We could do it that way.
And we can still make this super strong by having the bolts in on the diagonals.
Yep.
And across the centre, so
it's all going to get bolted together rather than welded.
Yep.
Because if you tried to weld it, it would warp like mad, and this is a precision thing.
Yep.
And if it warped, it would not be a precision thing, and that would affect things like pedal feel and stuff like that.
Yeah, because this works.
That is pretty good to say it's held together with clamps.
It's held together with clamps, and it's obviously we've only got washers in there now. Instead of these will be replaced with nylon.
And it will have bearings in. It's currently got no bearings in.
And it'll have, in fact, I've got the needle roller bearings here.
We use very similar ones in the shifter.
So it'll have these needle roller bearings in. So there's no plastic in the pedals that have any pressure on. We will be using a nylon bush in the throttle because there's very little pressure on it.
It's also, well, you can see the difference in size of pedal. It will have a pedal. I don't know what to call them.
A pedal foot plate.
A foot plate, yeah, on the end, you know, as these will. And that's what we're going to do now, because we've reached a bit of an impasse, haven't we?
Yeah.
Like, we can't really go any further without a good countersinker. We're not happy with just spending ages finesse. This entire rest of this video would be us trying to countersink 6 holes. So we're going to make our foot plates because, as you always say, there's always something that can be done.
Always something that can be done. Even though we can't do exactly what we want to do to progress, we can still move the job along.
Yeah, and it will give us more of our pieces. We won't put the gripper part of the platform on in this episode because that's massively time consuming, but we can make the ends, and then we'll have a full kit of parts nearly. We won't have our sliding mechanism, and we don't have our axle yet, because that's something that you couldn't get the other day. Yeah. You went in search, and unfortunately...
It's on order, so it'll be tomorrow morning.
Holidays, it is what it is.
Yeah. It'll be a day late.
So that'll be next episode. But like I say, we can finish off, we can make these pads, and then other than our slider, we'll have a full kit of parts, and in the next episode, we can then make it into a pedal box.
Yep.
It took me 3 weeks to figure out the design of the gripper that will be eventually on these pedals. And I only just figured it out the other day when we were filming a video for Patreon. And afterwards I was editing it and it came to me, I had a eureka moment and I ran into the workshop and I'm like, Dad, I've got it. Which is how weird we are. Because it's pedals.
What do you mean, we?
Most people would just put grip tape on it and like be done with it. Where's that bit with the big hole in it? Yep.
That's too thick.
It is, but luckily I know a man with a lathe.
So we need a big brake pedal. We need a big brake pedal.
A long
throttle pedal.
And
a small
clutch pedal. Oh, so you are doing it.
Oh, I'll just do one.
This pad weighs more than the pedal does. That's super cool, that.
Yep.
This isn't the non-slip design.
And it's not finished. Obviously, it's got to be a lot lighter yet.
The non-slip will help with that. And you don't have to make a special tool or anything, do you?
No.
No, you got it? Cool. So you've got that. So next week, we've got non-slip. Are we going to do that next week?
Yep.
We might do non-slip.
If we can.
No,
obviously, we've got to get all this bolted together and working.
This week might have been a bit of a weird video. It's been a lot of working out, hasn't it? Because we've never made one of these before. There's nothing we can't make, but it might take us a minute. And that's very much the case with this. And really, really happy with it though. And if this is your first Mosquito episode, or if you've watched a couple and you are impassioned and you want more of us, don't fret. Because after you've paused this video, scroll down there, click subscribe, click like, you can then scroll back up, and at the end of the beauty shots, there is a playlist with every single Mosquito episode on it, and we're now on like episode 86 or something. So you've got all of that, and then after you've watched 86 episodes of us, if you're not sick of us by then, you can then go into the description where there is a button that goes to our Patreon where you can get deleted scenes, spoilers for upcoming episodes. The other day we made a little video where we talked about what cars we'd buy if we won the lottery. All sorts of stuff like that. We made a resto mods video as well, didn't we?
We did.
So yeah, make sure you check that out if you're interested.
Yeah. And don't forget, leave us a comment.
Yes.
Yeah. Put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard and tell us what you think.
Thumbs to phone. Yeah, tell us what you think. Thank you all for watching, and a huge thank you to all of our patrons and everyone who shares these videos on social media and stuff. You're mega. Obviously, this is a niche thing that we're doing. We've got this amazing hardcore community. We're not a big channel, are we?
Nope.
But
in fact, we are. YouTube's the best kept secret.
As people keep telling us. But we are rapidly approaching 15,000 subscribers. So if you can help us hit 15,000 subscribers, get yourself down there and get subscribed. It really genuinely does help us make these videos for you every single week. So thank you so much for watching. Please be awesome to each other, and we'll see you all in the next video.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.